Here are chemicals measured for the production of our 11 liters multipurpose liquid soap. We will begin by dissolving our soakable ingredients. Please, before the production process, always ensure to put on your protective measures such as your glove and your face masks before you begin. So we continue by measuring our chemicals, after which we dissolve our SLS in water. When we dissolve our SLS in water, we make sure that we stir. We have to stir for 5 minutes. We stir continuously, slowly but continuously for 5 minutes to ensure that the chemical is properly dissolved in water and it is uniform in water. So we keep on stirring, we stir, we continue stirring. Please note that the water in which we are dissolving these dissolvable ingredients is actually from the 11 liters of water that has been measured and kept in a bowl. In 11 liters of water, you measure and you keep it in a bowl, and from there you start deducting water from there to dissolve your dissolvable ingredients before the production process. So we'll continue stirring our SLS until when it is properly dissolved, we keep it aside and move to the next chemical, which is our soda ash. We also dissolve it in water. And note, as I earlier said, the water in which you are dissolving these chemicals is obtained from the 11 liters of water that has been measured and kept in a bowl. So from there, you dissolve your dissolvable chemicals with it. So after we have put the soda ash into water, we will stir continuously and make sure that it dissolves properly. It forms a uniform solution with water. We stir continuously until when it is properly dissolved. Then we will keep it aside and we will also move to the next dissolvable chemical. So now the next chemical we'll be dissolving in water is our caustic soda. Please always ensure not to leave in any remnants into the container. Make sure all your chemicals is put into in proper proportion and dissolve completely in order to ensure accurate measurement. So we are going to stir our caustic soda. We will stir it until when it is properly dissolved. You will keep it aside. And move to the next chemical which we will have to dissolve. So as I earlier said, we are carrying water from the 11 liters of water that has been kept aside, as you can see here, and we dissolve the next chemical, which is our STPP. We are going to dissolve it also in water because it is one of our soakable chemicals. So we're also going to dissolve our SLS in water. When we dissolve it in water, we'll make sure we keep on stirring. We stir continuously. We continuously stir. Please, to ensure that you always stir each chemical for 5 minutes. For approximately 5 minutes before you keep it aside. We stir continuously until it is properly dissolved. The most important aspect in this liquid soap production is stirring of our chemicals. Make sure that you stir them until it is properly dissolved. So the next chemical which we'll be dissolving in water is our sodium sulfate. So once we pour it into water, we'll have to stir it continuously until it is properly dissolved. Please ensure that your chemicals are properly dissolved before you keep them aside. You stir continuously for 5 minutes. You keep stirring. You stir continuously to ensure that it is properly dissolved in water. So we'll be moving forward to the next chemical, which is our Texapon. Here is our Texapon, which we'll be putting into a bucket, and onto it we'll be adding sulfonic acid. So we are going to add our sulfonic acid, as you can see here. So we will be adding our sulfonic acid. We'll pour it into the Texapon that is already found in the bucket. After putting our Texapon in the bucket, we're going to pour sulfonic acid to it. And please, it's always advisable to add a cup of water, about a liter of water, to the Texapon and the sulfonic acid before you start stirring. Because if you start stirring initially before adding the water, it's going to become very thick and it's going to create lumps. It's going to cause what is known as trace. It's going to be very thick. So it is advisable we add a cup of water, 1 liter of water approximately, in order to ensure that when we dissolve it or we stir it, it becomes uniform in solution, so that it's not going to be hard and create lumps. So we'll stir continuously to ensure that our chemical is properly dissolved, our solution is properly dissolved and it is uniform. So we keep stirring for about 5 minutes. As I earlier said, the most important process of this liquid soap production is stirring. If you don't stir it well properly, you are not going to obtain a uniform solution. So we have to ensure that we stir it very well. You keep stirring, you stir until the solution is properly dissolved and well mixed. It is a uniform solution before you keep aside. Now we're about to begin with our production. The remaining water that was left in the bowl from the 11 liters of water, the remaining water that was left, we'll pour it into another bowl, which is where we are going to kind of like produce our liquid soap. Here into it, we are going to add nitrosol into it. We're about to begin with our production, the production of our liquid soap. So the remaining water that was left, from which we have dissolved the other chemicals, we're going to add it into a bowl and we add to it nitrosol, and we make sure we stir it properly and continuously for 5 minutes until it is properly dissolved. So after our nitrosol is properly dissolved, we will move forth to adding the first chemical into it, because I said we're about to begin with our production. So the first chemical we'll be adding is caustic soda, which was dissolved and kept aside. We're going to add it into the nitrosol solution and we're going to stir properly. While we stir, it is going to become jelly-like. It will become a little bit thick and jelly in nature. So you ensure to stir properly for it to become uniform. You stir continuously for about 5 minutes. You stir and make sure that it is properly dissolved, it is uniform in solution before we go forth to adding the next chemical. So we'll keep stirring. We stir very well to ensure that our chemical is well mixed before we move forth to the next chemical. So here we are going to be adding the second chemical, which is our soda ash. Please always ensure that you label your chemicals in order not to get confused. Always ensure you label them, each chemical that's dissolved, because some of the chemicals are alike, they look alike. So if you don't label them, you're not going to distinguish between them. Always ensure you label your chemicals. So here we have added the next chemical. We're going to stir. We'll keep stirring continuously. So while we stir, it's going to become thicker than it was initially. We keep stirring. We stir continuously for 5 minutes before we move on to the next chemical which we'll be adding. So you keep stirring, you stir to ensure that it is properly dissolved and it is uniform in solution. There are no clumps at the bottom of the bucket. So we'll be moving forth to the next chemical, which is our SCPP. So we'll be adding our SCPP, and please, when you add, always ensure that if at the bottom of the solution you dissolve, there are still some chemicals left at the bottom which was not properly mixed, you always ensure that you don't pour it all into the bucket. You keep that aside. So after adding our SCPP, we are going to stir it continuously. We will keep stirring, and we will also stir continuously for 5 minutes. We keep stirring to ensure that it is properly mixed, it is uniform in solution. You can kind of like see the nature of the texture of the solution, how it looks like. So you stir continuously to ensure that it is well mixed, because the most important aspect of this liquid soap production is stirring. You stir continuously. You keep stirring until it is properly mixed. Then we'll move forward to the next chemical which we will be adding. So now we'll be adding our sodium sulfate. And you can notice that the sodium sulfate was not properly dissolved. So we're going to ensure that the chemical that's left at the bottom of the solution should not be added into the solution in which we are preparing. So after you have added it, you see you start forming bubbles at the top of it. You keep stirring, you stir very well to ensure that it's going to become thicker again. You stir very well, you stir, you keep stirring, you stir, you ensure that it is properly mixed. Stir continuously for 5 minutes before you move forth to adding the next chemical. After we have ensured that our chemical is mixed, we'll move forward to the next chemical, which is our SLS. So here we'll be adding our SLS into the solution. After we have added, we are going to stir again continuously for another 5 minutes. We mix very well to ensure that it is well mixed, and you can observe the change in the solution after adding the SLS. It's going to become whitish. So you ensure that you keep on stirring, and it's going to become thick. You keep stirring, you stir continuously. You stir for 5 minutes to ensure that it is properly mixed. So here we'll be moving now to the next chemical which we'll be adding, and that is going to be our Texapon solution that was mixed with sulfonic acid. So that is the last solution in which we'll be adding into the solution in which we are preparing to our liquid soap solution. So when we add it, you can see how it is like. Here we can actually say we have already obtained our liquid soap. It is very foamy, and it has actually changed. You ensure that you stir very well, and stir very well until it is properly mixed. We will keep on stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring. You stir continuously for 5 minutes before we move on to the next. So here we'll be adding our foaming booster. Our foaming booster is going to enhance the foaming nature of our liquid soap. So we'll add our foaming booster and we stir. We're going to stir continuously. We stir very well to ensure that it should be properly mixed. We stir continuously. Please, after adding our foaming booster, you move to the next ingredient, which is optional. That is our preservative. You add preservative. Preservative is optional. So we'll move forward to the next, which is our glycerin. We'll be adding our glycerin, which is for protection. So we'll add 11 milliliters of glycerin, because we're adding 1% of glycerin depending on the quantity of the liquid soap we are to produce. For example, if it is 10 liters, we'll add 10 milliliters of glycerin. If it is 20 liters, we'll have to add 20 milliliters of glycerin, and we'll mix properly. We'll mix properly to ensure that it is well mixed. So you can see how our solution look like. Here we're adding our fragrance. You add our fragrance to it and you stir continuously. You stir. And also the preservative, I said it is optional. It is based on the quantity you have to produce. For example, if you have to produce for home consumption, it is optional. You can choose not to add preservative to it. But if it is for marketing, it will be advisable you add preservative, because you don't know for how long it's going to be in the market before when it will be sold out. So the next chemical we'll be adding here is our color, and I think that's the last chemical. That's the very last thing we add. So here you dissolve your chemical in a little bit of water, in a small quantity of water, and you pour it into your solution, your liquid soap. Then you stir continuously, and I can say our solution is done. We are done with the production of our liquid soap. So you stir it continuously for another 15 minutes. You stir continuously for it to properly mix, for the bottom not to be clouded. So this is what our solution look like after the production process. So we're going to cover it for 12 to 24 hours. And the next day, this is how it kind of like look like. It is ready now for home consumption, and it is ready now to be sold out for marketing. You can look at how beautiful it is and how thick the texture is, the consistency looks like. So our liquid soap production is ready for consumption. You can see how beautiful it looks like. So we'll try testing a liquid and quantity of it to see how it foams, to see how well it foams in water. So we'll be adding a small portion of our liquid soap into the water, and we're going to examine for ourselves and see how well it foams. So you can see for yourself how good it is and how foamy it is. And here our liquid soap is ready for consumption, for home consumption, and also for marketing. So this is how good it is. This is how effective it is. It can be used to do many things: laundry, cleaning, all types of cleaning. Very good for home consumption and also for marketing, for business. So the next thing we'll be doing is to package them in a container, and this is how it looks like. So it is ready for marketing.